All right, let's talk about cannabis edibles. They are absolutely everywhere now, right? In gummies, chocolates, drinks, and it seems like everyone's a little curious. But here's the thing. These treats pack a completely different punch than other forms of cannabis. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know to understand them, from their surprisingly ancient history all the way to how to have a safe experience today.
Now, if you think edibles are some newfangled trend, you might want to think again. Believe it or not, smoking cannabis is actually the new kid on the block. For tens of thousands of years, the main way humans got cannabis into their system was by eating it.
And this timeline just perfectly illustrates how deep those roots go. I mean, we're talking 50,000 years ago. Early humans were likely munching on cannabis flowers. By 1100 CE, you had things like majroon, a hash-filled sweet, getting popular in places like India and Persia. Then you fast forward to the 1800s, and there was this hashish mania that swept through literary circles in Europe and America. And of course, in the 20th century, you have Alice B. Toklas's infamous hashish fudge and the legendary Brownie Mary in San Francisco, which all paved the way for the massive legal market we see today.
So that brings us to right now. What exactly are we talking about when we say edible in the modern sense of the word? It's pretty simple, really. An edible is just any food or drink that has cannabinoids in it. Now, the two you're going to hear about the most are THC, that's the compound that produces the high, and CBD, which is non-intoxicating. It's important to remember these aren't food for nutrition. They're just a different method of consumption, an alternative to smoking or vaping.
So here's the most crucial part to understand. Why is eating cannabis such a profoundly different experience from inhaling it? Well, the answer is all about the journey it takes through your body. Just look at the dramatic difference in timing here. When you smoke, the effects are almost immediate, right? They peak within a half hour and last maybe a few hours. Edibles, though, they are a true lesson in patience. It can take up to 2 hours just to feel anything, 4 hours to hit the peak, and the effects can last for a staggering 6 to 12 hours, sometimes even longer. And this delay right here is the single biggest reason people have a negative experience. And that whole delay is because edibles take what I like to call the scenic route. Instead of going straight from your lungs to your bloodstream, the THC goes to your stomach and then to your liver. And what happens in the liver is the most important part of this whole story. It's a game changer. You see, your liver actually metabolizes the THC and converts it into a totally different compound called 11-hydroxy-THC. And this new compound, it is way more potent, and it crosses the blood-brain barrier much more easily. This chemical transformation is the reason why the high from an edible not only lasts so much longer, but can also feel way more intense than smoking. Okay, so now that we've got the science down, let's shift gears from the why to the how. How can you make sure you have a safe and positive experience? This is the key question, isn't it? Especially if you're a beginner. And thankfully, the answer really just comes down to a few simple but absolutely critical rules.
The first and most important rule is this: start low and go slow. Experts recommend that a beginner's starting dose should be no more than 2.5 milligrams of THC. To put that in perspective, a standard legal edible might have 10 milligrams in the whole package, so you'd want to start with just a quarter of that.
And this leads us to rule number 2. You have to read the label. Look for this universal symbol so you know it's a legit cannabis product. And then check the total THC content in the package and per serving. That label is your best friend. It's your guide to understanding what you're actually taking. And here are the rest of the essentials. After that first small dose, wait. Wait at least 2 full hours. Some people even say 4, before you even think about taking more. Also, never mix edibles with alcohol. That can just dramatically and unpredictably ramp things up. And finally, just be smart about your setting. Be in a safe place, store your products securely away from kids and pets, and never, ever drive. Of course, even with the best intentions, sometimes people just take too much. It happens. So it's really important to understand what that looks like and to know that it's manageable. And this is why we're taking this so seriously. A study in Colorado found that ER visits related to edibles were 33 times higher than what you'd expect, based on how many were sold. And it's almost always because someone got impatient and took a second dose before that first one even kicked in.
The common term for this experience is greening out. It's an intense and, frankly, deeply uncomfortable physical and psychological reaction to having too much. But the most important thing to know is that while it feels awful, it is temporary and it's very rarely life-threatening.
So physically, you might feel your heart racing, you could get nauseous, dizzy, maybe get chills. Your body is basically just reacting to having way too much THC in its system, and it's scrambling to process it all. And psychologically, it can be even more distressing. Overconsumption can trigger some really intense anxiety, panic attacks, and paranoia. You just have to remember, these feelings are a temporary overreaction in your brain caused by that high dose of THC. It is not permanent.
So if this happens to you or a friend, what do? Okay, number 1, stay calm. Remind yourself over and over that the feeling will pass. 2, find a safe, quiet space. Go to a comfortable room, dim the lights. 3, hydrate. Sip some water, maybe eat a light snack like crackers. 4, distract yourself. Put on some calming music or watch a show that you find comforting. And here's an interesting pro tip. If you have any CBD available, it can actually help counteract some of THC's intense effects and bring it back down a little. Okay, let's get to our final section and look at the bigger picture here. What happens after the high is over? One really practical thing to think about is how long THC from edibles can stay detectable in your system. Because they're processed so much more slowly, the metabolites can linger. As you can see, the detection windows can range from just a few days for a saliva or blood test to a whole month for a urine test, and up to 90 days in a hair test.
So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? I think it really just comes down to this quote. Approaching edibles isn't about chasing some immediate feeling. It's about understanding the science, respecting that delayed timing, and just being patient. If you can do that, you can avoid the panic and have a safe experience. And, in a world that craves instant gratification for everything, maybe learning to wait isn't such a bad question to ask ourselves.